Okay, so today, I wanted to go for the topic of, how to create a blueprint for your career. And this is again a topic that, from those who I'm currently coaching, those who are working with me, I see that it's a big struggle. So many people unfortunately get confused real quick. What roles should I focus on? How should I strategize my job search? Job search is a big journey. It's overwhelming. There is so many tasks and duties and discipline that you need to have in order to land your job. And again, if you don't have a clarity about what you should do, then that's definitely going to be a hard journey. So again, I'll share a few minutes of what I normally do, and again, we have experts here as well, Mr. Samar, Mr. Khaleim, and Jonathan. You guys, you can also chime in and share your flavor of what you do. Again, every person or every school, has a different style, so all styles are good as long as we reach the objective. So let me share my screen and get into some of the biggest challenges that most job seekers face today in the market or in their journey. And I want to hear from the folks who are joining us, what kind of challenge do you guys face? Like, is it lack of clear role selection? Are you confused about which role are you really trying to land here? Are you not sure what kind of salary you should ask for? Are you not sure about the career path? Are you confused about so many tasks? Should I just apply online? Should I just go for networking? Should I just, do resumes or practice interviews? Again, there is so many things that you have to do. I'm not sure. Should I go for certifications? And what is the structure to routine that I should follow? So again, what I gathered here is just a bit of some of the hidden challenges that most job seekers are facing, whether they know it or they don't know it. This is the reality of today. So I'll pause here, you know, get some insights from, Samer and Kaleem about, what they are seeing in the market from the people who are they are working with. And then we can open the discussion with other folks who are in this call as well. So let's start with you, Samer. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ahmed. So, my first advice to job seekers is not to spend a lot of time analyzing job posts. So, when you find a job post, do take the attitude of the HR. The HR, mostly when they screen their resumes, they look at a specialty, quick education, and a quick look at the experience, and they take a decision if this is screened in or out. Do the same thing when you apply for jobs. Look at the job quickly. If this you feel that something will match your desire, apply for it, but save a copy of it. Later, after a couple of weeks, when you receive a call from the employer saying, "Can you come for the interview?" That time when you can spend more time analyzing the job posts, reading it, and taking more decision of, do I want to proceed further or not? Don't spend long time and don't screen yourself out. Most of the time, what we find in the job post is kind of a wish list for the HR. And sometimes HR cannot find everything they put in the job post within the budget they have said or requested or offered. So apply for jobs, go for the competition. You might still be the best candidate who applied for the job and get that. Whenever the company find a gap between the job description and the candidate, that is an opportunity to give them a training in the future to fulfill all the requirement of the job.
Thank you, Samer. Brother Kaleem, do you have any insights you want to share? And you're mute if you want to unmute.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. So my background from career consulting comes from a company called Lee Hecht Harrison. I'm sure you're familiar with that, LHH in short.
LHH, yeah.
So I was a client of theirs actually right after the oil boom, not boom, bust actually in 2015, as you know. So I became a client of theirs, and eventually they offered me a position to work with them to as a career consultant, and they trained me. And so there is a lot of research that was available through their company, and so that helped me So what I'm about to share with you is exactly some of the background information about that. And one of the things that we teach our clients, I have dual head, as I said, career consulting and leadership development and career executive coaching. So in the career swam, a lot of people don't think that is a strategy. Job search is a strategy, and you cannot do it part time. It has to be at least 25, 30 hours per week. You had to be very disciplined. You had to be very have a very clear idea about what you want to get, and so develop a strategy every day, because you do not have that 8 to 5 work. Now all of this time is available, so it's very important to figure out what is your strategy going to be. What kind of job are you looking for? This is what you have done in the past, but do you want to continue to look for the same position? Do you want to go pivot on a side, or you want to start your own company? So there are a number of options available, and sometimes people don't think about that. They just say, I need a job, I need a job, that's it. But honestly, it's just there are so many different options. You can start your own company if you have that enough experience, LLC, consulting, those kind of things. So the key is what is included in the strategy. In the strategy is included, how is your resume, number one. So, does it is it compliant to ATS? Number one, a lot of people don't know applicant tracking system compliant resume, which is very simple, and they don't understand that I have my pictures and I have graphics and all. Yes, you can have that still. In order, if you're going to upload your resume on a web, then it must be a compliant resume. So once you have the resume, then you open up the world basically. And like Samir, you mentioned about the job description, I agree that job description. And so again, ATS comes into play. What kind of words you are using in job description versus what kind of do you have in your resume? Because eventually AI takes over, and this is how the resumes are screened nowadays. The other thing, and I'll be very brief because we have so much people are coming in as well too. So also, once your resume is done, then how do you present yourself to the potential clients, right? Whether it be recruiters and or hiring managers. What is your preparation? And like I always give an analogy that in real estate, the three most important things are location, location, location. In job searching is preparation, preparation, preparation. And so idea is that when you move into the job search, you must have a goal that I am going to get an offer from this job interview. Don't think that if I don't get the job, it's okay, it's an experience. No, the time for the experience experimenting is before the job interview, not during the interview, because that's a cutout. That's a leeway. So if I don't get it, that's okay. You don't want to do that. You want to be very determined, and you need to prepare ahead of time. So those are some of the key things. And as we move forward, I'll share some more, inshallah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brother Kareem. Thank you so much, Timer, for this. Guys, if this is an open forum, so I definitely want to hear you. If you have questions, please raise your hand and ask questions. This is not a one way, this is two way, and we definitely need to see you. If you can open your camera and be visible, that's definitely a great skill for you guys to prepare for your next job, as well, because being in camera is not easy for some folks. It's for me, the initial few time that I started to put on the camera was scary. I was a little bit shy, not sure what to do. But now, alhamdulillah, I've been doing this a lot, so I have no problem opening my camera. So anyway, if you want to ask questions, please raise your hand. If you're good, then we'll carry on. So I wanted to list down a little bit of few items here that affects the journey and makes it more, let's say, organized in terms of how do you make this strategy, as Brother Kareem mentioned, really clear. How can I stay focused on this journey and make sure, I don't get distracted. So those 5 steps I've been, almost speaking about it since 2020. This is how I normally strategize this kind of journey with people who don't have that vision, initially. Sometimes, again, at the beginning of the my job search, I was just applying to every job I can see in the universe, and that's doesn't help. I have to be very focused, very clear about what am I doing. And again, and I'll open the discussion for folks to tell me what they do best, because I keep learning, and I keep adjusting to what I learn. So the first step, what I feel is the most important thing, is how much money do you guys need from the job. This is a very important aspect, very key for your journey. If you don't have that number in mind, and number should be very clear, based on how much expenses, how much bills are you paying regularly, then it's definitely going to be hard for you to fix the direction, because it's not clear. The money dictates everything behind it. So if you can, sit with your family and determine, how much money am I paying regularly for rent, mortgage, whatever, and define that number that I need monthly, and then accordingly, this will be your bare minimum for a job, because you don't want to be in debt. You don't want to be in debt in any job. So this would be your starting point. Now, the next point or the next step is, what roles can I deliver that I have at least 70% of the skills and qualification that would pay me that much money? Okay. So this could be now your research. You definitely need to learn a little bit about what open roles are there outside in the market, and that you can deliver with your skills and certifications and degrees, and that can help you land that amount of money. So how do we do this? Now some people will tell me, oh, this is very theoretical. I cannot really do this. So the best thing and the easy thing to do is go to ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT first about what kind of roles would my resume land? So now copy paste your resume in ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT to provide you with the top three roles with the highest paying salary in the market that you could think of, based on your resume. Again, this could be a very easy and straightforward thing that you can do, that you can get an idea about, what kind of roles that I can land. And also ask ChatGPT to provide you that those are the roles that are in demand today, are in demand today. This is very important, because if ChatGPT gives you any role, then that's not going to help you as well. You need to find roles that are in demand and are also paying that amount of money that you're looking for. Okay. So the step number three would be asking ChatGPT to tell you what roles, or sorry, what companies are hiring now. Let's stop here for a second. The top three roles. You need to select one role out of those three roles. Don't go for the three roles. This is unless those roles are very close. Like if it's, let's say, Scrum Master and Project Manager, they are very close. But if those roles are different, like let's say data scientist and machine learning, I think they're a little bit different. So it's going to be hard for you to focus. So choose one only, and then ask ChatGPT to tell you, the list of companies that are currently hiring those roles in your area or remotely, and that are paying the average salary that you had here at the beginning. So when you have that list of companies, then this is going to be what you should focus on. This is going to be your real big focus of, those are the companies that I know that have demands, they have that role, and they may hire me. So now the next step would be speaking to people who are working for those companies. Now, one thing that I learned last week, and it was very nice, and maybe you guys could know this already, but I didn't know it. You can go to LinkedIn and download all your connections. Download all your connections, make an export of all your connections, and feed it to ChatGPT, and tell ChatGPT to advise you who are the people who you can, connect with from those companies in your network, so that you now know exactly who are the people who you can connect with from your network, who will help you land jobs in those companies. Again, this is a very smart way. Again, that I just learned last week. I don't know if some folks learned about this before, but it's a very smart way, to be honest, that I thought to share with you. So once now you have people that you think are really aligned to those companies, or at least worked before in those companies. They don't need to be working now in those companies. Even if they worked before, that's still a good thing because they can tell you even more freely about the company, because now they are not afraid that they are sharing some confidential information or anything. They can just tell you about their culture, their hiring process. Those are not really confidential things. Then once you speak with those people, then you will identify a skills gap. Like, what are the certifications, what are the skills that you definitely need to focus on in order to land work or jobs in those companies. So I spoke a lot. I hope this was clear in less minutes. But those are 5 steps that I've been using for some time now. I'll pause here, see if anyone have any question or follow up, or again, brother Khaleim, brother Samar, if you wanna share your insights about this, and what do you think?
Let me share a couple of thoughts. I would love to hear some comments or questions from the audience because I think that's what we are here to talk about.
Yes.
So be brave, ask questions, and hopefully we have the answers among us. So in the meantime, let me share with you a couple of things. One would be so one first and foremost. So when I say this, you may be surprised and shocked. You don't need a job, really, right? Agree, disagree? You don't need a job. You need a source of income that is legal and ethical. If you have that mindset, all of a sudden the world comes open for you. Because typically what happens, we leave one job and next thing is I need another job. I need another job. So our mind works in a paradigm and so that's the job. But when you really think about it, take a look at your skills, take a look at the ideas that you have. What else can you do? Right. So it's just a food for thought, because there are opportunities, maybe not yourself, but combined with another partner, your friend or relative or somebody like that, you guys can combine those resources together, skills together, and you can come up with something different. So that is food for thought. The second thing is I want you to think, in which it has been very successful with my clients, that is, you are the CEO of your own company. And if you have that mindset, if you're the CEO of your company, how would you go after providing your services? Think about yourself as a separate company. You're the CEO of your company. XYZ company is looking for a talent. Now, that's a different perspective than being an employee and say, I'm applying for this job because you feel like, oh my God, I hope I get this job because I'm really qualified for that. But if you think about CEO of your company, it gives you a lot of confidence. You know why? Because you have a certain brand, and we can talk about that too. How do you present your brand? What skills do you have? What are your accomplishments that you have? And I think the key is having accomplishment on a resume is one thing, but being able to articulate that to a third person, that is very, very important because you have maybe 7, 10 years of experience, and it's very hard to sum up all that experience in about an hour's time. Typically, an hour's time, 60 minutes is the ideal time for the interview, maybe 45 minutes, sometimes maybe hour and a half, but not more than that, right? So we have to learn. And, English is not my first language, but over time I learned how to articulate by reading resumes and by working throughout. So it's very important to do that. So anyway, any thoughts on that? You being the CEO, because once you think about you are the CEO of your company, all of a sudden you are able to say that, how would I say this to somebody else? How would I market myself? How do I brand myself to the third party?
Absolutely. Great
Thank you,
wisdom
Lisa.
there.
Yeah. Lisa, you want to talk about, give us a comment. I know I think that our learning would be much faster and quicker if you participate in it. And thank you for those comments. Yes, those are very important. Brother Zaid, would you allow me to share a couple of experiences
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this regard?
definitely. This
Yeah.
is open forum for everybody to share.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why we're happy to have you with us today for sure.
Yeah. So I was helping a lady in Dallas Fort Worth area, and she was a director of HR actually for a food company in Plano or Dallas area, and then there are several smaller plants that she was responsible for the HR function. And she was responsible for laying out a DEI initiative within the company, and she needed help from her HR folks, people that reported to her. There were about 10 different plans, or 8 to 10 different plans she was responsible for. And so she was asking people, and I want you to be mindful of how she said it. So I said, what is happening? And she said, hey, Jolene, we'll talk about Jolene. Say, I need your help because this initiative I'm responsible for laying out throughout the company, and I need your help. I know you're already busy, but I tell you what, I won't take much of your time. And guess what the answer is from Jolene? I'm so sorry. I really would like to help you, but I'm so sorry I can do that. And her dilemma was, Kaleem, how can I get this person how can I get volunteers to work with me? So then I said, okay, I approached the same thing. If you are a consultant to this company and you have been hired to roll out this initiative, how would you pitch it to your people? Within 5 to 7 minutes, she came up with this idea that, and she said to her people and say, "Hey guys, look, Jolene, I have been working as a consultant at your company, and your company has asked me to roll this DEI initiative in the company, and you have been one of the person that's been selected to roll it out, and you have certain skills that will be very, very helpful. Not only that, but as you work with other people, and we need about 6 people to participate in this activity, you will work with them and you will develop more skill that will eventually help you for your next role. So I don't want to go outside of our parameter here, but I just wanted to show you how important that it is. How you think makes a big difference. So first of all, it's like begging, I need your help, and so on and so forth. As soon as you change your mindset, and it's all about mindset, being present and saying, who am I? What is my role? What is the role of the person that I'm talking to? So you are getting some key things out of the person. So you are a leader. I need your help. You'll be working with other leaders and you will develop certain skills and that will help you. So, what is in it for me? Jolene's question. Jolene says, so your answer is it will help you for your future role. And all of a sudden, she got 6 volunteers.
100%. And I love it, brother Kalim. Again, this is, changing the mindset is one of the key things that, is very, very important for everybody who's looking for jobs today, because it's very unfortunately frustrating, and some people get depressed real quick, but if you know that your job is out there, if you know that, if you keep looking for it, and if you put your heart and soul into the journey, and you work on it, then definitely you will get it. And to your perspective, again, it's all about communication. How do I show up? How do I sell my ideas? We are all selling, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
We're all selling. We're all in that business. Some people unfortunately think about selling as a bad thing because they saw some, again, salespeople who started to do unethical things to, just get the sale. And we're not that kind of people. But selling is an important thing. In work, we're selling ideas. We're selling our brand. We're selling our projects to the executives, and selling, them to decide on some decisions. So to your point again, how do we put it all together in a way that, it communicates well, it lands well, and it's a win-win. If it's not a win-win, then it's definitely not going to work. I see brother Ham is raising his hand. Please go ahead, brother. Join us here.
Hi, Kaleem and Zayed. That is great hearing from how a candidate should look into ChatGPT to get the ideas and what are the perfect roles and salary he should decide before even applying for it. So I have a question so whatever the portal we go into, and whether it's a consultancy or a staffing company or even a direct organization career portal, there is a one common question like, do you need a sponsorship? That's where I think a lot of candidates are getting filtered. If we need, um, visa sponsorship for OPT candidates or even a CPT, then how do we approach that scenario? To get to get to know whether this organization accepts CPT or not, because Google says something, and maybe we are just applying for like hundreds of companies, and we get like 80% of the companies a rejection from them, and it's literally a waste of time applying for that. Like,
Yeah.
how do we approach in that
Yeah. So
scenario?
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll give a few insights, and then maybe I'll pass it to brother
Hmm.
Kareem and Samar to support you as well. So unfortunately, this time is a tough time, especially for people who are looking for sponsorship. With the political changes and the climate changes that is happening today, it's very, very hard for you to find sponsorship. And again, this is not because companies don't want to sponsor you, it's because of the rules or regulations that is coming from the administration about sponsorship in general, and how to reduce immigrants or whatever that is happening in some countries all over the world. So but that does not mean that it's impossible. Again, I don't want to give a negative idea here. I want to give also a solution. It's all about networking. Definitely the hardest way is getting sponsorship. It's not easy, but there is some companies who are still able to do sponsorship. Who are those companies? How do we find them? It's all about, again, networking, speaking to real people, and definitely not the small companies. Small companies will definitely be hard for them to do sponsorship. Your best bet is to go through big companies like, again, the Amazon, Google, Facebook, whatever, and see what can you do to be very unique for them to really sponsor you. Again, they will not sponsor you just because they like your face, or they like you're coming from this country or that country. They will sponsor you because you have a great value to solve their problems. If you show this to them, and you make the hiring manager excited about you, then definitely they will put the effort to go through this process, because it's painful for them too. It's painful for them too. So I'll pause here. I'll give it to brother Kaleem, if you have insights about this, and then brother Samir, if you have also insights. I know this is in the US, but again, whatever applies from an HR perspective in Canada, then brother Samir can help us too. Go ahead, brother Kaleem.
Yeah, so I would ask Brother Samir to talk about it because I think some of the audience is maybe US, Canada. So let's do that if you have any input, and then I'll talk about here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kalim. So, thinking about this screening question, it's a very important questions for HR, and why HR are using those. Today, with the great technology revolution that we have in the world, we are no longer receiving 40 or 50 application per job. This revolution become making our job posts visible everywhere in the world. And then HR started receiving applications from the far east of last Asia to the far south of Africa. Everybody is applying for these jobs. And HR now in trouble. Like, we want to hire someone to fill the position probably in 4 weeks, and I cannot bring someone from outside from a different country, and that's not our target at the moment. So we add a question as an HR. We add a question: do you need a visa? Are you requiring us to sponsor you? So these for many perspective. First of all, to assure that we have the right eligibility for the person who's applying for the job, to make sure that they are in the country, able to join us soon. So we put this screening question. The other thing is to estimate the process length. So if someone need to transfer sponsorship, get visa or something, that means we are talking about maybe 2 months or 3 months, and probably the hiring manager who assigned this job to me need a shorter time span. So I need to ask this question. So when we think about this screening question in this way, then we will understand from a job seeker perspective, what do I answer for this question? So I would say, if you have the requirement of the question, definitely say yes, to assure transparency and good communication with the HR, and also with the time expectation. If you don't have it, then not always you have to say no, because definitely when you say no, that means the computer itself will screen your application out automatically. But if you are able to get that within a reasonable certain time, then at this moment I would say yes. Apply for the job. When you get the opportunity to get it, then yes. Then let's assume a situation. Okay, now I am living in Qatar and I want to work in Canada. And I do have the citizenship, Canadian citizenship. Then when I apply for jobs in Canada and they ask me, are you available to join us within 1 month? I will say always yes. Do you require visa or something? I will say no. Are you in Canada? I will say yes. Even I am in Qatar, but I know I can just book a ticket, travel here, attend an interview, and get a job. So if you are able to fulfill this within a short time span, always say yes. This is also reminding me with another question when I was working in GCC. So, for example, when I am in back in Dubai or working in Saudi Arabia, the first question come from many employing company. They were asking, "Do you have an approval from your current sponsor to transfer sponsorship?" Well, I will say nobody have an approval from their sponsor to transfer sponsorship, because the moment your sponsor know that you are looking for a job, then they will stop your development, they will put you outside of the succession planning, and then your career with this company is ended. So most of the job seeker are looking for jobs without informing their current sponsor. But in this question, when I am there, I will answer yes. For me to get the opportunity to get a job interview, negotiate a job offer, and then after I get the job offer and accept it, then that time I will speak with my sponsor and say, can you approve my sponsorship transfer? Always do it this way. The other way, and that's also solving a problem for HR themselves. Many time we try to hire a person, and then after receiving the job offer, the last step they will say, "Oh, I don't have a visa." Then hiring manager will blame HR and say, "How come you pushed this person through whole process to come to the end and now he need a visa?" Please ask them this question from the very beginning. But keep in mind, if you answer no, you are screened out. If you're able to achieve it within a reasonable time of period, say yes, and it's at your responsibility to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Samar. Again, I know, Brother Khan, I know this may not do much for you, but this is why you should think about how companies think about sponsorship, how companies, think about hiring today. This is the process. So you have to understand the process in order to position and strategize yourself to that process. So again, it's definitely not easy. I truly, you know, um, with you about that, but again, it's not impossible to. It's a journey. You definitely need to do more than what everybody else is doing, because sponsorship is not easy. You have to prove yourself that you're very, very unique, you're very talented person, so that the company would, yes, this is the next Steve Jobs. I'll definitely go for that person. So did that answer your question, Brother Khan? Do you have any follow up here for us?
Yeah, that really helps me. Like, what would be the process and how, from HR perspective, they look for a candidate. I have maybe another follow up. Like, so most of my friends here in the chat are like based off US. So we are like a students who come from we are like a international students who are on OPT and STEM OPTs and day one CPTs. So that is where we are struggling. Like even if we put yes, do you need a sponsorship? Then let's say I even tried with yes and no's as well. So if I put no, I get a call, and then in the first screening, when they ask me like I'm an OPT, oh, I'm sorry, we are not able to sponsor based off your policy. If we just put yes, then I think it's auto reject. Uh, so, but well, like maybe you guys know any other platform where we need to try, like not directly to the career portal, we go through contract positions or something like that. That would be helpful, like that type of
Yeah.
inputs from you
Yeah, I'll,
guys.
I'll I'll put myself in your shoe, fan,
Mm.
for a moment, and I'll tell you what I think I can do for myself, you know. So based on the current situation, it seems like you have to continue your education. You know, this is your best chance to stay in the US for the time being. You know, finding work is an uphill battle, unfortunately. So continue with your education somehow in the US with everybody, because that's the way for you to stay legally in the US for some time. Maybe in the future those kind of conditions will change, and then opportunities will open up. In the meantime, what you can do is, since you and other, you know, international students are there, and you have talent, you have experience, you have some energy and some wisdom, you know, why don't you go with your university and try to find an incubator, you know, a startup, you know, create a startup within your university so that your university can sponsor you, and you can create your own job with your university, you know, because again, you're already sponsored by your university, right?
Yeah. So it's like we do masters for 2 years, and then they give like a OPT and STEM OPT for 3 years to work anywhere. But that anywhere is very difficult nowadays.
Yeah, so
So
this is again maybe something that you could discuss with your university, you know,
mm,
and see with your professors, can I create a company to solve a problem that I see in the university, a problem that I see in my community. Let's say if you're in Chicago, then, you know, in my community in Chicago, you know, I can create something, you know, I can create an app, I can create, you know, a service, I can create a product, you know, whatever that you can create based on your expertise, so that this startup, you know, could be the next Google, the next Facebook, the next Apple, you know, and from that thing you can create your job and also create others' job, you know. So again, this is what I would do if I were in your place, you know. But again, there is definitely so many smart people here who could also advise something else. Brother Samar, do you have any follow up? I thought I saw you raise your hand.
Sure, sure. I'll go quickly for this question, and I will make it more specific for the American market as well. So the first thing, and what we are doing here, we are answering your questions from an HR perspective to increase your opportunities. I'm not a migration consultant, and I don't have a knowledge of this area specifically. So I will answer from HR perspective. And let me tell you also, HR in the companies are not immigration consultants. So they don't know about immigration or visa or things. They just want to hire a person who's qualified for the job in the easiest and shortest way. They don't want to go through immigration process. So let's ask ourselves what the purpose of this question. And this question help the employer to determine three things. The first thing is whether you are legally allowed to work in the US. The second question, if they will need to sponsor you for a visa now or in the future. So we don't want to hire someone who is able to work for 6 months. And then after that, he would become illegal. Then I will have to go through a termination process. And also the third thing that we need to understand is whether your situation fits the hiring policies and timeline of the company. So many companies have strict policies around sponsorship, especially for entry-level role for the government. So government don't want to go for short periods. Mostly when you're targeting a short period or temporary visa permit, then you are going for only private companies. And but that doesn't mean that the door are closed for you. So let's ask us a few questions. One of the questions that might face you, if you are a US citizen, green card holder, or have asylum, refugee, or this status. So definitely the answer confidentially, yes, I am authorized to work in the US and don't require sponsorship now or in the future. Then the other thing is you could also add this to your resume or LinkedIn, saying authorized to work in the US without employer sponsorship. If you are on the other type of visa, OPT, CPT, H1B, I'm not really deeply aware of that, but I did some research before the session today because most of the questions and connections that attending this session is facing these issues. So I thought, okay, first of all, OBT and CBT. You will have to say I'm currently authorized to work in the US under the OPT. I don't require immediate sponsorship, but in the future I might need, and that is called, I think, H-1B or other work visa sponsorship to continue employment. If you have now H-1B, then I currently hold a valid 1HP visa and I am authorized to work in the US. I might require H-1B transfer if moving to a new employer. That's quick advices that might help in this situation, but always think HR is not an immigration consultant. They don't want to get involved in these things. They just want to see the positive answer that will not put them in trouble in the future to go through a sponsorship process or termination process. Thank you.
Thank you, brother Samar.
Thank
Okay,
you.
brother. And any follow-ups? Are you good here? Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, awesome. Brother Karim, do you have any insights or do you want to
No,
add
I
anything?
think Brother Samir did a fantastic job for Canada and US also. And I like his answer that, HR folks, they are HR folks. They don't have enough sufficient knowledge about the immigration policies because there'll be too much. That's why we have immigration attorneys to address those issues.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so I know that we have like almost 10 minutes, so I wanted this just to be a little bit more clear here for you guys and I know how the job search journey in a high level looks like so that you guys think of it in that manner and start to strategize your journey. So again, Brother Klim discussed this at the beginning, mindset is key, 100% key. If you are telling to yourself, that you're not going to find a job, you will never get a job. Okay, so if you're breaking yourself already in a mindset and you're telling yourself those negative thoughts, nobody can help you, unfortunately. You have to be positive. You have to stay focused in a mindset. Otherwise, nobody can help you. Even if some people have the job for you. Um, the next thing is the financial. Again, you definitely need to have a number. Number is the easiest thing for you to start the journey because everybody have expenses. Everybody needs to pay their bills. If you don't really have a number, then you cannot really determine which role is suitable for you. So try to make those clear at the beginning. The mindset, the financial, plus the role. Those are three important things that you need to start with. Once you have those things clear, then your next step is action plan and gap analysis. What are my gaps between what I today know about those jobs, about those skills, about those certifications, and the role, the job description. You need to read some job descriptions, real job descriptions, and see where are my gaps. Is it certification? Is it hands-on experience? Is it, courses? Is it, some kind of networking? What exactly are my gaps? And then once you do those two things, then you then start writing your resume and LinkedIn. Don't start writing your resume and LinkedIn if you don't have those two things clear. And because again, if you don't have a clear role in mind, your message in the resume will be very distracting, will be confusing to HR people and to hiring managers. They will not know who you are, what are you really looking for, how can we fit you. And if you think that someone will scout you, someone will dig deeper today in the pile of resumes to find you as a unique person. Again, this could happen like a chance of 1%, but if you're betting your ideas on 1%, then definitely that's not a good idea. So try to bet for the 99%. Understand the process and prepare yourself for the process. So as Brother Kareem and Brother Samir mentioned, ATS is one of the process. If you don't tailor to the ATS, unfortunately you will get the automatic rejections, and you will just waste time. So resume, LinkedIn, if you don't know how to write it, if you don't know how to optimize LinkedIn, definitely that's not a good thing. If you are not able to prepare ahead, Brother Kareem said it very well, preparation, preparation, preparation is a key. Interview prep is very, very important, and it doesn't happen overnight. If you don't do this ahead of time, then unfortunately you're late. I'll pause here. See, I think Brother Faisal, you had your hand raised, or maybe not. Brother Kareem, go ahead. I think you have your hand raised. And if you're speaking, you're mute. We don't see you as well.
Yeah, so this is Faisal. Good morning to
Yes.
everyone.
Hey,
And
good morning.
so one of the thing that I notice is nobody talks about the C2C market. We talk about the direct employment, but nobody talks about the C2C market. Sometimes it looks like it's an underground market.
What do you
So
mean by C2C? Can you explain more?
yeah, so
Because the acronym.
C2C is basically the corp to corp, and that happens on LinkedIn as well, but it's not very prominent. Dice and Indeed, they are full of all C2Cs. So it happens when you have H1B and your company is finding the project for you. So in those cases, there are companies which are offering the projects and you are looking for the project. And then based on the rates and everything, the skills and the roles, there is a match, and then you go for the interviews. So I'm
Yeah.
basically looking for a C2C opportunity here, and I've noticed that most of the time we do not talk about it, although there is a big market that is a C2C market.
Yeah, actually, this is one of the topics that we'll speak about next week. Myself
Hmm.
and Brother Mahmoud, Coach Mo, will speak about contracting in the US and Canada and how to land contracts, C2C, to your point, Brother Faisal. So join
Yeah.
us next Sunday, and we'll definitely dive deep into this topic specifically.
Yeah. So one last thing. So there is a contract market, and then there is a C2C. So it's not the direct contract. So H1Bs cannot go with the companies on a direct contract. So they need a backing employer. So for example, in my case, I have a backing employer who basically sponsored my H1B, and that's why I'm here. And now I have to look for the project. So in my case, I was already working. I'm still working for on a project, but that
Mm.
company is going to slash some jobs because of the ongoing tariff war.
Yeah.
So in that case, I'm back into the C2C market. So I was just looking for those kind of guidance. I'm very experienced IT professional, but still, I mean, C2C market is something that is very different from the other markets.
Yeah. I'll let Brother Kalim give you some insights here, and then I'll support afterwards. Go ahead, Brother
Sure.
Kalim.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I don't have any comments right now for the C2C market because it just popped up, but I wanted to talk about a couple of things. Number one is your brand, because that actually works. First and foremost, you need a resume. Resume has, we call it a summary of experience, we call it a branding statement, or something like that. So, do you have enough time? If I can share two slides.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We have to just take the group selfie on top of the hour. So go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah.
All right. So I'll share with you a couple of slides, and that I want to hear from your comments as well too from the audience. Let's see here. Okay. Hopefully these slides will help you in terms of thinking. Can you see my
Yeah, we
presentation
can.
here?
Yeah, we can see your
Yeah.
presentation now. Yeah.
Yeah. So take a look at this. I want you to read this quickly and think about it. If you have your brand identified or summary of experience as this, what do you think is a takeaway for an HR professional and or the recruiting manager? Take about a minute to read this. Yeah. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I can give
Yeah,
my
the
thoughts.
industry is mentioned, but the role is not clear.
Yeah. So this is the person who's applying for a job. This is the resume summary, right? What is this person telling the company or the folks, HR people and the recruiting or the hiring manager?
I think there will not be any role match in this case.
There, exactly, right? Because the comment that I hear from my clients, if I'm teaching a class, they say, this is good words, right? Enthusiastic, self-motivated. But then keep in mind there are 10 people behind you that say the same thing. So what is specific about you? Now I'm going to share with you because of time this idea and tell me what do you think about this now?
Yeah, this one is very specific and mentions the skill as well or the accomplishment.
Yeah, so the brand is very clear. This person is a business operations manager. How much of an experience? 10 plus. So it could be 17 years, but 10 plus gives you an edge, right? They may be looking for 13 years, so you're not overqualified. But in what type of work did you do? 10 years in new program creation, process design. It's a very high level, 50,000-foot level. You're not going to deep down into it, continuous improvement. And then you have one accomplishment that talks about what did you do? And so it gives the employer or the hiring manager or HR to ask you questions. Tell me about it. What did you do? And how did you accomplish that task? And then something unique about yourself. So I was able to bring the company to number 2 place in market ranking and best known for successful delivery and implementation of this thing here. So having a brand is very, very important, as you know. And the key is if you don't have a brand, you're not telling anything, right? To this important. Um, and before you leave, somebody asked a question about, how do you match job description verbiage to your resume? And I've created this thing here, not this one here. I will. Can you? Okay. I am going to share with you something, this word, very important. So, for example, this is the job description that the company has, and they're looking for job duties and job qualifications and all that. So, if you try this one out, it will help you. 4-year degree they're looking for, your qualifications are yes, that means you're 100% meet the job qualification. 7 years of experience, you had 12 years of experience, so you meet that qualification. Yes, they're looking for leadership experience. You may have been an interim leader, for example, so you may not qualify for. You're not in leadership position as such, but you'd have experience. You can say probably yellow, but 70%. They may be asking for AWS experience. You don't have any. It's okay to say maybe you have exposure to what AWS is and you're able to talk. Why this Excel worksheet is important for you? Because you're taking the job description, you're reading each and every line of it, and so you understand what exactly they're looking for, and you're breaking it down into a line item, and then you are qualifying yourself. So green, green, green will give you confidence that this is the job for me. I am qualified. Of course, this is your assessment. But also the yellow and red will help you too. Why? Because it will help you prepare. So if the conversation of the interview goes to the fact that, tell me about your leadership experience, you are prepared to talk about it. You're not impromptu thinking during the interview process and saying, well, yeah, at one time I did have, I was a leader or I led the group or something. You are prepared to articulate your experience. And AWS experience, you may not have it, but you may have exposure to it. You can move your conversation from not having that experience into what you have. So talk about what you have versus what you don't talk about what you don't have. The key is how do you articulate that comment, right? From what you don't have to what you actually have. So this might help you, and maybe next time we meet, I can talk to you about more details about it.
Everybody who joined.
Did you say that you get $100 for those cameras are on for those people?
Oh yeah,
You
I
forgot to
wish.
say that. See, that's why the other people are going to lose out.
Yes, that's a very good encouragement. People will do their hair and be ready
Yeah.
in future. So again, thank you so much, brother Khaleim. Thank you so much, Tamer. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Jonathan, for joining us. I know again, it's a tough Sunday, being Eastern too. But thanks for those who showed up, and I hope this was useful. And I'll give it back to you guys if there's any final words anyone wants to share. Otherwise, we'll give you back the Sunday here. Brother Samar, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll try to take things away a little bit from visa and immigration things. So I want to share with you a practical approach that can elevate your profile and accelerate your job search in Canada and USA. So definitely start with a powerful professional brand. That is, as Mr. Kareem mentioned, it's a very important. Your profile is more than a resume, and it's your brand. Every successful job search begin with a clarity of three things. So you need to mention clearly who are you and what do you offer to the company, and then the third thing is what make you different from others. The market is very competitive today, so you need to identify these three things to make your brand. Your professional summary is an essential part of your resume and also your LinkedIn. So you need to start with a strong brand title, like you're certified, and put your specialty, what's your title you are targeting for, and the level in the company. You complete also your completed education. Make sure that you are mentioning your specialty, three core competencies, and also skills and a proud achievement that you have mentioned. That is a strategy to build your professional summary, and then make your resume result oriented. So recruiter don't just want to know what you did, so they are not looking at a history, but they are looking at your resume in a way to understand what you can achieve for them in the future. So for each job on your resume, include 6 bullet points in each job. Don't exceed that. Don't put 10 bullet points. Don't put only two. Like most of the time, it's a good to have 5 to 6, and each line of these job duties they need to start with an action, verb, problem, and action and results. You might see these sentences a lot in the job posts, so follow the same thing in your resume. Then the last thing, also optimize your LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very loved website by HR. They want to visit this website every time they are looking at application, and we need to see their a professional headline. We need to see the about section filled with the right information and branding. You need to list your experience and also your education and your skills. Be active on LinkedIn. It's a very good way to network and increase your visibility to hiring managers. And then I would say at the end, tailor every application. That is very important because the market is very competitive, and a generic resume doesn't really look nice. It's like one shirt that fits all. So if you have one shirt, you want to wear it for every occasion, it doesn't really look very good. But if you have a specific shirt for every occasion, that will make you stand up and look better. Then closing and motivation. Everyone here, I will say, your background, your accent, and your journey. These are strength also. The market is full of opportunities, but you must present yourself confident in a way that you're adding a value to the company. Remember always to define your brand, prove your impact, and stay visible, and never stop adapting and keep trying. The door that is being hit many times, you will end up having it open once. I wish everybody a good luck.
Great wisdom. Thank you so much, brother Samar. Okay, I guess that's it for today. Jonathan, do you have any other insights you want to share? Anything, comes to mind?
Yeah, I was mobile when, and thanks for. It's always a great time to spend with y'all. As a native English speaker, I don't speak for all native English speakers, but I can almost guarantee you that because of native English speakers' laziness, that you will likely speak English better than they speak whatever native language. So I say that to say speak with confidence, because know that my Arabic is absolutely like abysmal. I know like 3 words. My French, I took 3 years of it. I'm a Russian linguist from the army. My point in saying all that is to say that it shame on anybody who looks at someone else who's trying to speak a language that isn't their native language and judges them. I have spent a lot of time in multilingual environments. I've picked up a few words here and there, but I am fluent in English, which is something I'm proud of, considering I grew up in the South in the U.S. That's an accomplishment just to be fluent in that language. But yeah, just always remember that whatever language you're speaking, when you're speaking in English, even if you're not native, the chances are you're speaking to someone whose language skills in your native language are not near yours as far as English is concerned. So just don't let that be a hindrance. Speak with confidence and know that for sure.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Great wisdom too. Thank you so much. Okay, I guess I don't see any hands raised. No more questions. But
Let me
again, Yeah,
Well, can I
well,
make one more
yeah,
comment?
yeah,
So
sure.
I'm biased towards having your video show up, and also your name too. So suppose in this discussion, if I like certain people and maybe I want to connect with them, what do I do? Because your age don't have your names there. So you're making it harder. Make it easier for the recruiters or the people that want to work with you, easier so that I can just immediately. I just connected with Samir right away, and I think a couple of other people, Brother Imad as well, because the name was very easy to do, and so it's important to be visible, to be shown, to be seen, and make comments because I think that's how people see you, and it's so important to hear like hey, I need to connect with them. You have something that I need, or I can help you connect with somebody else. So don't be shy about it. It's a couple of times you do this and you will get used to it. That's all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, we've been telling this to the community. I hope we really do this regularly and ask them to put the name and put also the LinkedIn in the chat. Just to again help you grow your network, help you become visible. Otherwise, again, you will be always hiding behind the screen. Nobody will know you. Unfortunately, you will not get your message out there. But anyway, I guess everybody has their own reasons of what they are doing, why they are doing. So um, I hope this is useful. I hope this is a lot of wisdom for you guys. Stay positive, stay proud. Definitely, it's a tough market. We all agree it's a tough market. It's been one of the toughest market I ever seen in my whole life, to be honest. And community networking is a key for you guys to survive in this network. So stay positive, stay together as well, if you can become a community. Like again, if you guys like Brother Khan and others who are in school, try to become together, because that's how you can support each other, how that's how you push each other through this negative world somehow. I'll leave it there. Please join us again next Sunday. We'll speak about contracts and landing contracts in US and Canada. This is a very important topic, and I have the job fair as well the week after. So hopefully there will be lots of recruiters, lots of hiring managers who will join this. So it's online Wednesday, April 30th, noon time Eastern. I left the link on the chat if you wanna just register to get the invites. That would help you join us on that day. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the Sunday. I'll leave it there, and we'll see you next Sunday. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.